Fleck-Show is presented by Window Concepts and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. Now, it's the pj-fleck-show with Pierre Nugent, Ron Johnson, and Justin Gard.
And welcome into another edition of the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. After enjoying a week off, the Gophers are scheduled to be back in action later this Saturday against the University of Iowa. We'll talk more about that a little later in the show. But first, joined as always by the head coach of Gopher football, PJ Fleck, alongside former Gophers wide receiver Ron Johnson and KFAN's Justin Gard.
Initials champion.
Yes.
Justin's Gard.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging my second game show victory. It's very important. Very important. There'll be a Fox 9 special about it next week.
No, there's no doubt about it. I'm sure we absolutely will have a special on it. As we look ahead to Iowa, before we do that, we need to look back at what transpired a couple of weeks ago. PJ, the Michigan game didn't go your guys' way, but now that you've had a chance to kind of digest the film and look over everything, what stood out about Michigan that just didn't work well for you guys in that game?
They're really good.
Yeah.
I mean, how to answer that question. They just did it to Indiana. They're going to do it to a lot of other people. They're one of the best football teams in the country. We played 2 top 10 teams already in the first half of the season, Michigan being one of them. We were off schedule from the start. And if you get off schedule against a team like that, you're not going to win the football game. I mean, we were from the second play of the game, and we threw a pick six. And that was hard for us, to recover from that. They're really good. We were able to get a touchdown to cut it to 14 before the half, which was really good. But other than that, we just were constantly off schedule. And that's a credit to them. That wasn't just us. They're a really experienced, older team. We had 10 freshmen out there at one point. There's reasons why it happened. And the reasons nobody wants to hear because they sound like excuses, but there are no excuses. But there are reasons. We got to keep getting better. And it showed some of our deficiencies. It showed some of the fundamental technique things. When you play a top 2 team in the country like that, if you're not at that level just yet, it exposes what you aren't really good at. And the small things, the fundamentals, the details within the scheme, we didn't do a good enough job with.
Yeah, when you look at rankings, years past, the defense has been ranked really high. And then this year, it's kind of taken a back step. But when you look at film, because I know everybody does, you can always pinpoint, like, here's something, or this guy's trying too hard, or this guy didn't trust, what we called, or this guy tried to be a hero. What can you put your finger on this year that's kind of, dropped back a little bit within the defense?
Yeah, well, first of all, college football is not pro football. You're talking about defenses over the course of time. People move on, people graduate. Mm-hmm. You have NIL and transfer portal where people leave on the top. People get plucked in terms of the depth. There's a lot of teams that don't have a lot of depth. Our depth is depth, but it's youthful depth. We're not bringing in a ton of transfers for all that depth, so it's youthful depth. But what you can find out on film for reasons is guys' eyes are in the wrong spot. Not even just wrong spot. They took the cheese somewhere else. They got baited into doing something that was outside the scheme. Sometimes when you're playing with some younger players or inexperienced players, the older guys want to do everybody's job. Yeah. And then you go do somebody else's job, then you create even a bigger mess, right? But we just have to be way more consistent. And our team knows that. We've been very transparent with them. I got to coach better. We have to coach better. We've got to teach better. And if we do that in the second half, we'll have more success.
Going back to the second half against Michigan, how tough of a spot is it where you feel like we got to sustain some drives, we got to move the ball a little bit. When they get it, they're scoring. I got to keep this thing manageable. It just seemed like there was no right decision you could have made in that second half. So how difficult was that?
It probably wasn't a lot of great decisions, but the one at least we made was at the end of the half to give us some points. And, I heard the crowd, and then you obviously listen to the TV copy, and people don't know what you're thinking, which is part of the fun of TV. But we didn't. It was 4th and 2, and we were going to go for it. But I didn't want to go for it with 57 seconds because if you don't get it, it gives them a minute to go 25 yards and kick a field goal. Now it's 27-3 instead of 24-6, 24-10, something. So it was all about letting the clock run down where we at least knew we were going to have 2 more plays no matter what. Get the first down, clock it, take a shot at the end zone, which was a touchdown. And if not, we'll kick the field goal. So that was the whole thinking behind it.
I was all dialed up at our halftime interview. I was ready for it. I'm going, wow, this is interesting. Crowd doesn't like it. This is going to be interesting. Then the touchdown made it moot. So that was good. It was great for all of us.
But it wasn't about like the touchdown made it. But even if we didn't score a touchdown, the decision was based on you've got to, in that decision, you got one chance to make the game a game with points, period. You don't come away with any points there, and then they get points. I mean, the fans aren't going to be there anyway to boo, to cheer, to do anything because everybody's going to leave. So it wouldn't matter at that point. So that's as a head coach, you're not only thinking about what you should do offensively, you're thinking about, one, the special teams unit, you're thinking about how that affects you on defense. Everything affects everything. And sometimes when we watch it as fans, even me, and so when I watch it as a fan, which is not very often, I want to say the same thing. What's he doing? But there's a reason, and I'm not saying I'm always right, but there are reasons why we make those decisions, and that was the whole decision behind that. And I know it made a lot of people go, what is he doing? So that's what I was doing. Not that I have to explain that, but I feel like I can always educate people.
Well, I mean, working in media, with three of us, a lot of people either listen or watch and say to themselves, what are they doing? What are we listening to? So we're used to that as well. You're not the only one on that one. But your quarterback was sacked twice. 5 of 15, I know a lot of people are going to look at the box score. They say 5 of 15, 2 interceptions, 2 of them returned for touchdowns. But Ethan has turned the ball over at least once in every game you've played except one. Is he having trouble reading defenses, in your opinion?
No, I mean, he's a foot off in the one that the pick six he just threw. He's a foot off, makes a right read. They baited us into it. It's a great play on their defense. The second one, he's another foot away from that being a really good throw. I think just some shape stuff that he can work on, things like that. But again, this is when you break in a new quarterback, and this is breaking in a new starting quarterback, not somebody who came in for somebody else. This is breaking in where it's his chance to be able to go make it his offense. You're going to have some really good, you're going to have some really hard. We played 2 top 10 teams. Let's not forget that, right? And 2 of the throws that he made that are interceptions were just ill-advised, just throw it up, which he knows he can't make those decisions. So he's learning from all those things that he's doing. I think he's managed the games better. I think he's been way more poised in the pocket. And I think when we played people where we could score points, we've been able to do that as he's settled down and been able to control the offense. So he's made some really good decisions. When you watch it from our end, I mean, he's been able to be really efficient in games. But this is going to, when you're breaking somebody in, there's going to be some really good, there's going to be some hard that you have to learn from. But that's part of what people are either patient with now or they just throw it away and go buy something else. That's part of it. And this is, we're about investing into our people.
Yeah, and you talked about being on schedule. First and second down, making sure you have a manageable third down. Third down, you were 3 for 14. How do you get Ethan on that now for this game to say, hey, this is how we have to get into these third manageable situations?
We're playing some of the best defenses in the entire country, first and foremost, and we've got to get better. We're playing, I think there's 3 or 4 top 10 defenses we've already played, and they're going to keep coming at us. We have to be more efficient on first down. We have to be able, when we're really good, our third downs are really short. Sometimes we don't even get the third down. Second down, we're getting first downs, we're moving the chains. We just got to stay ahead that way. But we've had some drop balls. We've had some missed assignments. We've had, an ill-advised throw. We've had a bad throw. We got to coach better. We got to get our guys to play at a higher level. And that's part of the challenge when you have a team that you're breaking in some newer players, some guys that you're finding out what they actually can do and what they can't do, especially at even the running back position. But I'm proud of the way our guys are working, for sure. I really am. When can we move on from this game?
I got one more question about it, but it's a good one.
You actually need your notes, too, for this?
It's a good one. Well, as it stands today, no one has scored more points on the Michigan defense than the Golden Gophers. Now, you can't put a banner in the indoor for that, but, maybe you could.
No,
but the point is they're a good defense. You moved the ball pretty well, I thought, in the first half, especially running the ball. There was a period there in that first half where you started to move the ball on the ground, and obviously Darius Taylor wasn't playing. So what do you take from that you can move forward to the rest of the season?
Well, I think we're always going to be a team that's got to be, the run has got to be able to set up the pass, and they've got to be able to, coexist together. And I think, when you have really young running backs and you're breaking all those guys in, you're a new quarterback, and you have a different team. You don't have a bunch of seniors across the board that have played a ton of football for you, that you know exactly what you're going to get in every single situation. You're finding out as you go through what they can and cannot do, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then every week you're adapting to that, and you're playing some really good teams that are saying, okay, we're really not good at this, or we're really good at this. So I think running the football has to be even more consistent than what we've been able to do in the past.
What's the message to the team in the last week?
First 6 was our first season. This is a completely different season. Season 2, take everything that we learned from season 1, apply it to season 2. And let's go out there, and it's not about a reset. I don't like that word reset. This is just about realign. Let's just get back to what we can do, because we're a good football team. We played really good football, and then we haven't played such good football. We got to do it all together, complementary offense, defense, and special teams.
All right, we will have much more coming up next here on the PJ Fleck Show. When we return, Punter Mark Crawford joins us on set. You do not want to miss this conversation. One of the most interesting guys on the team, I guarantee you. Mark Crawford joining us on set on the other side of the break.
Let's row the boat. You're watching the pj-fleck-show.
Welcome back into the pj-fleck-show, everybody. Joined now on set by a very special guest. Hey, who says special teams doesn't get enough love? Not on this show. More than enough love. The punter, Mark Crawford, in with us here. Mark, great to have you on set. You've been around this program a while now. When you've gone through a little bit of struggle like the team has in the past few weeks, as a team leader, what do you say to the guys, and how do you really pick up the group and kind of get guys to focus on the next game?
First of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
Look, it's pretty simple for us as specs. You know, get back to basics, sort of focus on what you can control, and I think the message goes to most of the other guys. Just make sure you can get better each day, and each time you go out there to improve on something, and that's what we've been doing.
Specs, I like it. That's special teams.
Got it.
That's special teams.
Specialists.
I've never heard that,
specialists.
specialist. But you guys are always unique, whether you want to be or not. The specialist group. So take us inside your relationship, let's say with Dragon Kesic, and what that relationship has been like for you, because you guys have a little bit of a reputation around here, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the greatest dudes that you'll see. He's the amount that he's developed over the last couple of years, sort of going into becoming the starting kicker, and I think that was something that really propelled him into becoming more of himself around everybody. We always knew what he was like. We always knew that he was a character and he was outgoing and confident, but to see him be able to put on this on field is awesome.
So when he decides to do the blue streak in his hair, for example, is that something he workshops with the rest of the group, or does he just show up one day with the blue hair? And what was your reaction to that?
I might have contributed to the fact that his hair was a blue mohawk, but yeah, no, it was unique. He just said, "Hey, make it blue." I was like, "Okay, mate, let's go."
I think we might, like I said, we were talking off camera a moment ago. I think we need to get Mark and Drug on their own show here on Fox 9. We'll work on that, and hopefully you can see that by this point next year.
Or just have read out of a phone book in front of you for an hour. It's just awesome to hear.
You could do that as well. It would be highly entertaining.
Shake it up a little bit, yeah.
PJ, I've been at a number of your practices. I see you all over the field. You've got a lot to cover. But in all honesty, how much are you paying attention to the punter and the technique? And walk me through how you're coaching the punting unit.
I'd like to be around the punters and the kickers, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So when I get out in pre-practice, that's what I'm watching. And then when we actually go field goal and specialists, I'm over with the field goal kickers and the punters because they give you a sense of how you can call a game. Even before a game, I'm on the field watching these guys. But not only that, their personality, you want to be around. They're infectious. I mean, this guy's 30 years old, right? Almost.
29, yeah.
29. I don't want to give an extra year to
hang
that.
on
But
now.
he's like talking to one of the coaching staff members. He's an adult. I've learned so much about things I never knew anything about prior to talking to him. Same with Dragan. I learned something completely new, probably off topic, off the wall,
no doubt,
bizarre, some stat, something that I've never even thought about thinking about with these guys. But they all have interest outside of football, which I absolutely love. I mean, these aren't just football players. These are guys who are going to be incredible leaders, businessmen, husbands, fathers, whatever they want to accomplish. And they always have something good that they want to share. And that's why I like to be around them. I think positive attracts positive, and these guys, there's nobody more positive than these guys.
Well, Coach Fleck just outed you on your age, 29. I was going to let it fly. I think you could play 18 or 19. I mean, if Hollywood needed it, you could play 18 or 19.
Sure, 100%.
So do you have more in common with your coaches or your teammates?
That's actually a really good question.
Thank you. I was due.
I am nearly closer to Coach Fleck's age than I am to some of the freshmen, especially next year. Like, it's going to be I'm about the midway point. But I think fortunately for me, I grew up playing a lot of sport with older guys. Like, as a high school, I sort of played like men's level cricket, I suppose. So then it was just roles reversed. So I can lead as a result of that and just voice my opinion a bit more and make sure that I hold them in check or let them go a little bit or whatever they want. Yeah.
So PJ, what is it like having adults? And obviously, I don't know if people know Mark is from Australia. I'm not sure if you picked up on that. It's not a Richfield accent. What's it like, because there's been this influx of Australian punters that have come over. You're playing another one this Saturday. So what's it been like to have older guys like Mark on the team?
Well, they help with the maturity of the team. It's one thing to be able to say, okay, he's older, but I've met a lot of immature older people
He looked right at us. He looked right at us. Did you see that?
I wasn't gonna
He was
say
looking at
anything.
you.
I
was really looking at Pierre.
Yeah, we know.
We just kind of assume you, JG. I was really looking over here at the end of the table. But it really is the maturity level of everybody. And he's such a connector. And him and Dragon and even Brady Weeks, I mean, they're football players playing special teams. So they're not just the kickers. They're not just the punters. They are football players. They do everything everybody else does. They train and prepare like everybody else does. And they're a part of the team. And I think our team really respects that. And they respect that about being a part of the team. They want to do it. They wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, when Dragon catches a guy on the sideline, I mean, he looked like a 6'4" safety running down the sideline to get somebody on the ground. So these guys I have a ton of respect for because of how they practice, how they prepare, and the leadership that they show the team.
Mark, Justin brought up earlier that you and Dragon have, what did you say, a little reputation around?
Oh, I mean, they're good buddies.
Yeah, they're good buddies.
They're
Good
characters.
buddies. So, you know, if you had to sell Fox 9 on a TV show of the two of you, what would be your sales pitch?
The Crawford-Kesich show where action makes reality.
Well,
Jeez, yeah, that was quick.
Action
That
makes-
was quick.
action
You've been
makes
thinking about
reality.
it. Action makes
it's
reality.
almost as if he was already been thinking about it and did it completely unprompted. I'm
That was-
You
impressed.
should just put it at the front of this thing.
You know, we seriously
That was
could.
straight off the dome. I have no idea what it meant, but there you go. We know.
Unbelievable.
I see the billboard.
I mean, I think we see potential in this, don't we?
Yeah, I think it'll probably replace this show, unfortunately,
well,
or the Gopher
perfect.
pregame show.
Yeah, yeah.
PJ can have some extra time.
I'll be a
Infinity
guest once in a while if you'd like to.
Window
Absolutely.
concepts.
Yeah, the Mark Crawford show with special guest PJ Fleck. Yeah,
I'm in.
we look forward to that.
So in our final minute or so, we mentioned there's been this influx of Australian punters,
Yeah.
whether you're playing men's league cricket or whatever.
Yeah, football, whatever it is. Yeah.
So how's that happened, and what was your role, and how did you discover, you know what, I can go over and get an education in the States and play a little football?
Yeah, there's an academy back home called Pro Kick Australia, and that just was the place to be. That's where I met Tori.
Yep.
That's where I've met some of the other guys, Jesse Merkel at Ohio State, Jack Hansel at Purdue. Like, all these guys have sort of gone through the system, and here we are. We all trained at the same spot. I trained with Tori for 8 months before I got here, and he went to Iowa. So, yeah.
Well, it has certainly been a pleasure having you back, Mark. Feel free to stop by anytime. Seriously, feel free to stop by. Mark Crawford, everybody. When we come back here on the PJ Fleck Show, we'll look ahead to Saturday's matchup against Iowa. Big Saturday showdown against the Hawkeyes. We'll discuss that next on the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. Let's row the boat.
Welcome back into the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. The Floyd of Rosedale is on the line this Saturday as Minnesota travels to take on Iowa. It's a game that we all look forward to every single year. Coach, what is it going to take this week to, I know it's always tough to go down there and play on the road in Iowa, but what's it going to take this week to get back in the win column, in your opinion?
We've got to play way better than we did last week. They play incredible complementary football. And I mean that with the way their offense sets up. Their special teams are punters averaging like 60 yards a punt. They flip field position, and they have one of the top 3 defenses in the entire country. So they kind of pin you in a corner and make you stay there. We got to be really efficient. We got to stay on schedule. We got to take care of the football and get takeaways. We have to swarm to the ball and not make sure plays like this don't come spitting out because they got 2 really good running backs that, they get you to a point where, not that you get bored, but your eyes are in the wrong spot, and then bang, they got you. And a guy goes through a hole on a split flow play, and nobody touches him, and he runs for 80. So they're very consistent. They're very patient with what they do, and whoever sets the tone of the game is going to have control of the game.
Yeah, you talked about that. They're one of the top defenses. How do you find ways to stay on schedule against a defense like that, knowing that's what they want to do? They want to pin you back so that their offense doesn't have to drive as far.
Well, you got to be in manageable third downs. You got to win on first and second down. It sounds simple. It's way harder than it is as you just watch them get a safety and beat Wisconsin 15-6. And Wisconsin they've scored a ton of points this year in what they've been able to do. And, they scored 6 against that defense. So they could be stifling at times. We have to play our game though, period, and I think the most physical team is going to have a chance to win. It's going to set the tone and it gives them a better chance to win. But our guys have had a really good bye week. They prepared really well and look forward to the challenge.
Going back a few years ago in Iowa City, I remember you kicking a field goal early, maybe on the first or second drive.
Yeah.
And your point was, I don't think we led Iowa in 10 or 12 quarters, and you just wanted to know what that felt like. the point of this question would be, how difficult is it to get a lead on Iowa? Because that's obviously, they want to be like you. They want to play. You guys are very similar, and you want to play from the front.
Well, we've got to execute. That's the biggest thing. We've had many opportunities where we've missed field goals to either take the lead, start fast. Haven't been able to hit them. But this isn't going to. I don't assume it's going to be 45-44.
Right.
I don't know. But the way the game has changed with the first downs and everything else, but. You've got to make sure that you stay on schedule, and you have to make sure when you get a chance to score points, you score points, and because they do it very well. They're going to do it. So you have to be able to match that and do it better than they are.
It's interesting that you mentioned not getting bored. I had a chance to talk to John Joyner. He said the same thing. The key is not to get bored in a grind-out type game. How do you keep them on task like that?
It's not the board you think about, like sitting in your lazy board
right.
and sitting around all day.
Right, it's a different kind of board, yeah.
It's the run, play action pass looks identical to the run, and you have your eyes somewhere else, and bang, it's a touchdown. That's what we're talking about, to break the boring and to break the stagnant, to keep you always on edge. Every play is its own individual entity. So keeping it, that's what we mean about breaking that boring, is not sitting there saying one play is going to affect this play. It's not. It's next play mentality. Everything we have, all the focus we have on that play, because they're really good at doing that.
I mean, Chad Greenway said it, not your words, his, because I talked to him last night for like an hour. Brian Ferentz' offense is boring. So Chad said that, not you. I say that as well. But again, run the ball. But getting away from football, because Chad and I talked about this as well. You are a big-time philanthropist. Why is it so important for these players to know about the hospital wave? You have 10 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the hospital wave, I think, it's the greatest tradition in all college football. So we were one of the first teams, I think, that went out to midfield to do it. We'll do it again. Hopefully everybody joins us in that way. Special.
See you next week.